You carry within you wounds, unseen, unspoken, and perhaps, long forgotten. But they are not gone. They live in your body, echo in your mind, and shape your behavior without your awareness. To live unconsciously is to remain ruled by the very wounds you deny. Now is the time. Heal your wounds. Not later. Not someday. Now. Because the wound is not your weakness, it is the place where your soul is calling for attention. Let me show you the way forward. You may believe that your wound makes you broken, that it is a flaw, a scar, something to be hidden from the world. But this is a grave misunderstanding of the soul's path. The wound is not the end of your story, it is the beginning. It is not your failure, but the precise place where transformation becomes possible. In the eyes of the unconscious, the wound is sacred. When we are hurt, we often close ourselves off. We build walls to protect ourselves, numb our feelings, and pretend we've moved on. But all the while, the pain festers beneath the surface. It shows up in our relationships, in our fears, in our silence. And yet, paradoxically, it is through this very pain that light can enter. Your suffering cracks open the hardened shell of the ego, revealing the vulnerable truth beneath. And in that truth lies the potential for awakening. Pain has a purpose. It forces you to stop, to pay attention, to reevaluate what truly matters. It strips away illusions and demands honesty. You begin to see that the very thing you tried to avoid contains the medicine you need. The light enters not through perfection, but through the fracture, through the trembling, open wound. Healing begins when you stop resisting your pain. When you allow yourself to feel it fully, without judgment or suppression. When you become curious instead of ashamed. Ask yourself, what is this pain trying to show me? What part of myself have I lost or ignored? These questions are not easy. But they are the doorway to inner freedom. Remember, there is no growth without suffering. The tree must crack open for the seed to rise. The night must fall before the dawn. And you, too, must pass through darkness to reach the light. That light has always been within you, waiting patiently for you to open the door. So don't fear the wound. Don't cover it with distractions or false smiles. Sit with it. Tend to it. Let it breathe. Because in that space of rawness and truth, something miraculous begins to unfold, the light of consciousness, the spark of healing, the beginning of your return to wholeness. Let the wound be your teacher. Let it be your mirror. Let it be the place where, for the first time, you truly meet yourself. There is a force within you that quietly shapes your life, your choices, your emotions, your relationships, without you even realizing it. It is the unconscious, the great unseen realm of the psyche. It holds everything you have forgotten, repressed, denied, or feared. And unless you bring these contents into the light of awareness, they will govern your destiny in silence. When Carl Jung said, "What you do not make conscious will control you," he was pointing to one of the most important truths of human existence: the things we refuse to face do not disappear, they become fate. You think you are making free decisions, but really, it is the wounded child within you, the unresolved trauma, the hidden fear, or the unacknowledged desire that is guiding your steps. You repeat patterns. You attract the same kind of pain. You sabotage your own growth. And all the while, you ask yourself, why is this happening to me again? It is happening because the unconscious is trying to make itself known. Bringing something into consciousness does not mean simply understanding it with the mind, it means feeling it, owning it, and integrating it into who you are. It means looking in the mirror without flinching. It requires courage, because the unconscious does not only hold your light, it also holds your shadow, your jealousy, your anger, your guilt, your shame. These are the parts of you that you pushed away because they didn't fit the image you created to survive in the world. But they have not vanished. They linger in the background. They leak out in moments of stress, in sudden emotional outbursts, in the way you treat others, and in the way you treat yourself. Until they are brought into the light, they hold power over you. To become conscious is to reclaim your inner authority. It is to take responsibility for your own soul. It is not an easy path, but it is the only one that leads to true freedom. You begin by paying attention. Notice your reactions. Trace them to their roots. Ask yourself, why do I fear this? Why does this person trigger me? What have I been unwilling to see? The more you look within, the more you free yourself from invisible chains. In truth, the unconscious is not your enemy. It is the deepest part of who you are, your wisdom, your intuition, your instincts. But until you listen, it will shout through your suffering. Until you accept it, it will speak in symbols, in dreams, in repeated life events. So begin the inner work. Do not wait until the same mistake returns for the 100th time. The power to change your life lies not in the outside world, but in your willingness to face your own depths. What you make conscious, you reclaim. And what you reclaim, you can finally transform. There is a part of you that you've hidden, rejected, or denied for as long as you can remember. You've learned to present what is acceptable, what is praised, admired, and safe, and to bury what is feared, misunderstood, or judged. That buried part is your shadow. But what if I told you that within that shadow lies not only your wounds but also your deepest medicine? We are taught from a young age to suppress the parts of ourselves that others do not approve of. Perhaps you were told to stop crying, so you learned to suppress your sadness. Maybe your anger frightened others, so you locked it away. Or you felt too sensitive, too intense, too different, and so you wore a mask to belong. Over time, these rejected parts of you didn't disappear. They retreated into the unconscious and formed your shadow. But the shadow is not evil. It is not something to be ashamed of. It is not a flaw in your character. The shadow is your unlived life. It is where your lost vitality, creativity, authenticity, and strength are hiding. What you think of as darkness is often just light that has never been seen. Your fear of the shadow is what keeps you small. Because in that darkness is your power. The anger you deny could become your boundary. The sadness you avoid could open you to compassion. The jealousy you repress could point you toward your hidden desires. Every piece of the shadow, when integrated, becomes a source of insight, clarity, and healing. But to access its medicine, you must approach it with courage and humility. You must stop running from yourself. You must stop pretending to be only what the world wants from you and begin to embrace what your soul truly is. That means facing the discomfort. Sitting with the emotions you'd rather ignore. Admitting to yourself the truths you've long suppressed. Not to judge yourself, but to understand. To hold those forgotten parts with love instead of shame. The shadow will not be tamed by intellect alone. It requires honesty. It asks that you feel. That you descend. That you explore the night within you, not as punishment, but as a journey toward wholeness. And paradoxically, the deeper you go into the darkness, the more light you bring with you. True healing, true growth, is not found in chasing perfection or pretending to be always positive. It is found in integrating the broken, disowned, and feared parts of yourself. It is in realizing that nothing within you is inherently wrong, only unloved. So when you feel triggered, defensive, or ashamed, pause. Ask yourself, what is trying to be seen here? What part of me is calling for attention? That moment of awareness is the beginning of transformation. Your shadow does not want to destroy you. It wants to liberate you. It wants you to live fully, not just as a persona, but as a whole, integrated being. And once you begin that process of integration, you will discover the medicine that has been waiting for you all along, the power to be fully, unapologetically yourself. There is a small, fragile voice inside of you, a presence that once laughed freely, cried openly, and believed in magic. That presence is your inner child. It still lives within you, even now, beneath the layers of time, trauma, and survival. But somewhere along the way, you left it behind. You had to. To grow up, to be strong, to survive in a world that didn't know how to hold your sensitivity, your innocence, your wonder. And so, you buried that part of yourself, not because you were weak, but because no one taught you how to keep it safe. But the child never disappeared. It waits in silence. It waits in your loneliness, your outbursts, your fears of abandonment, and your longing for love. It waits behind your achievements, your control, your emotional walls. No matter how far you go, that child is still there, hoping, aching, calling out to be seen. To embrace the inner child you abandoned is not to become childish or naive. It is to return to the most essential parts of your soul, the parts that still believe in love, in connection, in dreams. It is to acknowledge that the pain you carry today often began not in adulthood, but in the earliest moments when your emotional needs were unmet or misunderstood. When you were told to toughen up, stop crying, be quiet, or be strong, you learned to silence your true self. And that silence became a prison. But healing begins when you turn toward that inner child with compassion. Not to fix it, but to listen. To witness. To finally say the words that were never said, I see you. I hear you. I'm so sorry you were alone. You didn't deserve that. And most importantly, I'm here now, and I won't leave you again. This act of reparenting is radical. It asks you to become the loving presence you once needed but didn't have. It asks you to soothe your own wounds, to protect your own innocence, and to offer the gentleness you once begged for from others. You begin to care for yourself in a new way, not from duty, but from devotion. You begin to ask not, what do others need from me? But rather, what did I need that I never received? As you reconnect with this inner child, you may find buried emotions surfacing, tears, grief, anger, even joy. Allow it all. That's your soul returning to itself. Each feeling is a piece of your wholeness reclaiming its place. And you may also find gifts hidden there, creativity, playfulness, curiosity, courage. These are not traits you must invent, they are already yours. They were simply tucked away in the shadows of your survival. To embrace your inner child is to reawaken your essence. It is to remember that before the world told you who to be, you already knew who you were. So don't run from that child any longer. Go back and find them. Sit beside them. Play with them. Cry with them. And promise them this time, they will not be left behind. Because your healing is not just about moving forward. It's about going back to the moment you lost yourself, and choosing to bring that self home. Healing is not soft. It is not always peaceful. It is not the gentle unraveling many people imagine. Healing is, at its core, an act of profound courage. It is the willingness to walk straight into the storm within you, knowing it will tear through the illusions you've built just to survive. It is choosing truth over comfort, growth over safety, and freedom over familiarity. Many people say they want to heal, but what they really want is relief. They want to feel better without having to face what made them suffer. But true healing asks far more of you. It demands that you see yourself, fully, honestly, and without filters. It requires you to confront the raw pain, the long-buried memories, the stories you've clung to, and the defenses you've constructed over years, maybe decades. It asks that you sit with what hurts instead of escaping it, that you stay present with what is ugly, uncomfortable, and unresolved. This is not easy. This is the warrior's path. To heal is to walk into the unknown. To let go of identities that once protected you. To say goodbye to people, places, and patterns that kept you wounded, even if they once felt like home. It is terrifying, because healing will change you. It will strip away everything that is not real so that you can return to what is. That process can feel like death, because in many ways, it is. The death of who you were pretending to be. And yet, within that death is rebirth. A quieter, deeper, more honest version of you begins to emerge. You cannot buy your healing. You cannot rush it. You cannot fake it. You must earn it through patience, bravery, and an unshakable willingness to face yourself, again and again. Sometimes healing looks like breaking down. Like crying in the middle of the night. Like setting boundaries that make others uncomfortable. Like standing in front of the mirror and finally telling the truth. Other times, it looks like choosing to rest, to forgive, to speak up, or to walk away. These are acts of bravery. They are not comfortable, but they are necessary. There is no timeline. No shortcut. Only the slow, sacred work of becoming who you really are beneath all the pain. So if you are hurting, know this: you are not weak. You are not behind. You are on the path. And every time you choose to stay present with your pain, rather than running from it, you are performing one of the bravest acts a human being can offer the world. You are breaking cycles. You are healing generations. You are reclaiming your soul. Do not expect the journey to be easy. Expect it to be worth it. Because healing does not return you to who you were before the pain. It transforms you into someone stronger, wiser, more compassionate, and more whole than you ever thought possible. And that kind of transformation, that kind of liberation, requires nothing less than extraordinary courage. So today, not tomorrow, begin the work. Sit in silence. Write. Cry. Forgive. Speak to your soul as you would a dear friend. Because healing does not come from outside, it rises from within, when you finally decide you are worthy of peace. Heal your wounds right now. Your future self is already thanking you.